Hey y'all, what's up? My name is Avery, and today I will be telling y'all all about all of the books that I read in April. I know that it's kind of late, we're almost mid-May, and I'm sorry about that. As you would have heard in my last video, I was very stressed out with school, so I haven't really been filming all that much, and I moved back home, so I haven't really had time to film any videos, but I definitely had time to read in April. I think a way for me to de-stress is to read a book. And you will also tell by this video that I read a lot of ebooks this month. I actually read 16 books this month. 4 of them were physical books. It's because I like to read to de-stress, like I said, but I don't want to get sucked into a very good book or a big series or something like that, because I know I won't have time to read all the series if I have so much stuff to do. So I usually pick up a freebie on my phone that is maybe 100-something pages that I just fly through in one sitting. So that's a lot of what happened this month. But I don't want to ramble on, so let's just jump right into the first book that I read. Okay, so if y'all watched my March wrap-up, you would know that I was in the middle of reading a werewolf shapeshifter series. I have to say right now, I don't really remember all that much about the last books because it was so long ago. So the first book that I completed in the month of April is Blue Moon by Lisa Kessler, and this is the 6th book in the Moon series, and this is about Logan and Viviana. I ended up giving this book 3 out of 5 stars, very much average for what I gave the series as a whole. I normally ranged from 3 to 3.5, not really higher, not really lower. If you go watch my video titled series that I am currently reading that I posted last month or the month before that, I go into full detail about what the Moon series is all about. Basically, they're shapeshifter werewolf books that I'm totally trash for, and I completed the entire series this month. So, but if you want to know more about the series as a whole, go check out that video. I will link it down below for you, and it goes in way more depth as to what the book series is about, because I don't want to make this video any longer than it has to be, because there are going to be 16 books that we're going to talk about today. So, there you go. Second book that I read this month is Wolf Moon by Lisa Kessler, and this is the 7th book in the Moon series, and this is all about Luke and Raven. And I gave this one a 3 out of 5 stars. The third book that I read this month was New Moon by Lisa Kessler, and this is the 8th and final book in the Moon series, and this is all about Sebastian and Isabel, and I gave this concluding book a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I thoroughly enjoyed the ending, and yeah, I wish there were more books, but I guess we're not gonna get them, but I would have loved to see more books in this series, but I'll take what I can get, you know? The 4th book that I read in April was His to Protect by Elena Aitken, and I was really in the mood for shapeshifter books because I just finished a shapeshifter series and I was still in the mood for shapeshifter romance. So I ended up already having this freebie on my phone that I got a couple months ago off of Amazon. I'm not sure if it's still free though. If you want it, go check it out and see if it is. If it's not free, it's probably really cheap. But this is a bear shapeshifter book, and I never read a bear shapeshifter book before this one. I will say I've read more bear shapeshifters since this one. This is actually also quite small. I believe it's 100-something pages, so I flew through it. Harper's life begins to spiral out of control, so she decides to take a vacation at Grizzly Ridge. There she meets Axel Jackson, who takes one look at her and knows that she is his mate. But he has a hard time convincing his 2 brothers, who are also bear shapeshifters, who do not believe in mates. And he also needs to convince Harper that it's not just lust between them, it is fate. It was really short, not that much character development. I just think it was like a short, trashy romance shapeshifter book that if you're in the mood for it, go right ahead. But I didn't think the writing was all that great. The kind of insta-love that I really enjoy is mate books, but I don't enjoy it when they say I love you a week after they've known each other. That I don't approve of. I approve of them if they're mates, developing feelings for each other still, or knowing that they're gonna be together, but the verbalization of I love you, I don't think should have happened that quickly, and that happened in this book. And overall, it was just kind of predictable for me, so I gave it a 2 out of 5 stars. The 5th book that I read in April was Irresistible to Love by Layla Hagen. I got this for free on Amazon on my Kindle app, and this is the first book in the Bennett family series. Sebastian Bennett is a determined entrepreneur businessman who runs Bennett Enterprises, which are all about the jewelry industry. Family comes first to Sebastian, even though that his family members may be a little bit crazy and keep hassling him about getting married already. Sebastian doesn't believe in love though, until he sets his eyes on his new external marketing consultant, Ava, who is there to oversee the next collection launch. He finds her beautiful, funny, and just as stubborn as he is, and he will do anything to make her smile. He's determined to have Ava, even though she is completely off limits. Ava Lint has one job to do at Bennett Enterprises to make sure that the next collection launch is unforgettable. Daydreaming about the hot CEO is definitely not on her to-do list, and doing said CEO isn't either. The company she works for has a strict no fraternizing with clients policy, and she will not risk her job. But Sebastian blows through her defenses one kiss and touch at a time. When Ava's time as a consultant at his company comes to an end, will Sebastian fight for the woman he loves, or will he lose her in the end? I really enjoyed this one. I previously, a couple months ago, read a Layla Hagen book that I also really enjoyed, and I wasn't expecting it. Again, like this one, I wasn't expecting to enjoy it as much as I did, because it is a freebie, and most freebies for me don't really get that good ratings for me because the writing style isn't all that great for me. But Layla Hagen has an amazing writing style. She writes character development so well, and also the romance is really well done, and sexual tension is really good as well. So overall, I gave this book a 3 out of 5 stars. The 6th book that I read in the month of April is You Make Me by Erin McCarthy. This was also a free book on Amazon. Growing up, Caitlin fell in love with her foster brother Heath until one day he just up and disappeared and left Caitlin heartbroken. Years later, she has made a name for herself in college by reinventing her appearance, joining a sorority, and having the perfect boyfriend. And this boyfriend, Ethan, makes her so happy and calm. But the perfect world she tried so hard to attain ends up being ripped away by one night Heath appearing at her doorstep. Out of the military, he is brooding and intense as ever as he wants to win Caitlin back. There was nothing special about this book at all. I'm sorry there wasn't. It's very short. I liked it at the beginning. I liked where it was going. At the end, I was so upset. I was so upset because there were huge aspects of an unhealthy relationship that she just decided to be with in the end. It didn't matter if their relationship was unhealthy and not okay. I'm still gonna be with him. I didn't like that at all. Overall, this book just made me mad. At the end, I was just super upset and mad with what happened, and I don't think it's okay to treat people like that. I don't. So I gave this book a 1 star. The 7th book that I read in the month of April was Gemina by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. I re-listened to this book on Audible for preparation for Obsidium that I still hadn't read yet. I forgot so much that happens in these books. I didn't remember the main characters' names. I think it was 2 years since I've read this book, and I didn't remember anything that happened. I forgot what ship it takes place on and everything like that. I didn't remember. And then once I started re-listening to it, I was like, oh yeah, that's what happened. And I actually forgot the ending, so the ending was a big surprise for me again. But I'm not gonna go into detail about this book because it is the 2nd book in the Illuminae files by them. And again, if you want to know what the Illuminae files are all about, I still have a link down below to that video I was talking about with the Moon series, the series I'm currently reading video. I talk about the Moon series and the Illuminae files in that video. So if you're wanting to learn about the Illuminae files, which is a sci-fi YA novel all told in video chats and pictures and journal entries, go check that video out to see what that whole series is about. But overall, I loved this book just as much as the first time and gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. The 8th book that I read in April was Obsidium by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. This is the 3rd and final book in the Illuminae files, and I absolutely loved it. I read and listened to it at the same time, and the audiobooks are just fantastic. I also love the 2 new main character / couple that come into This book, I love them. I love seeing past characters as well. I loved the ending. I just loved this book overall. It was gorgeous. It was awesome. I loved what happened. And yes, I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars. Also, if you aren't really into audiobooks, like, get this series. Like, I promise you, you will get into audiobooks after this series. The 9th book that I read this month was Slammed by Colleen Hoover. I am a huge Colleen Hoover fan. I have read a few of her books, but they're more of the recent kind, so I was very excited to pick up her first novel. So this book is about 18-year-old Lakin, who is forced to be the rock for her mother and her brother after her father's unexpected death. Her family then moves all the way from Texas to Michigan, and there she meets 21-year-old new neighbor Will Cooper. And Will Cooper is super passionate about slam poetry. Within days of their introduction, Will and Lakin have an immense emotional connection, leaving Lakin with a renewed sense of hope. But not long after their intense, heart-stopping first date, they are slammed to the core when a new revelation appears in front of them, which brings their relationship to a screeching halt. Daily interactions become impossibly painful for both of them as they struggle to find a balance between the feelings that pull them together and the secrets that might pull them apart. I really enjoyed this book. This was her debut novel, so I was really confused for a little bit there why there weren't some more mature / adult scenes in there like we have in her later books, saying like November 9 or It Ends With Us. I loved it nonetheless, despite not having that section in it. We don't need the description of sex or anything to make a book better, you know what I mean? It was surprising to me because it's present in her novels that I have read. As I said, I really enjoyed it, but it was a little bit too insta-lovey for my taste. As I said before, I only really approve of insta-love when it's like a fated mates involved kind of thing, or like, oh, we're destined to be together, it's written in the stars kind of thing, because that is gorgeous. I don't know, like right when they meet, they're just like infatuated with each other, and like, I don't know if that would kind of happen in real life. That hasn't happened to me before. No. I don't know, it just kind of put me off a little bit at the beginning of it because they like connected so easily like right when they met and locked eyes on each other. I would have also loved to read more about like certain family members that we only get a little bit of information about, like her mom and her brother and her dad. I would have loved to hear more about them, and I would have even loved to learn more about Will's family as well. I also freaking love the poetry in this book. I love slam poetry so much, and I loved reading all the slam poetry in this book. It was gorgeous. Also, the angst was amazing because, like, I can't tell you why there's angst, but there's angst in this book, and if you know me, I love my angsty romance. Also, I didn't expect the, like, big plot twist that happens in the middle of the book. I was not expecting that at all. I know some people expected it. I did not. And I already bought the next book. It's sitting on my counter right over there, and I can't wait to get into that one soon. And overall, I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars. The 10th book that I read this month was Letters to the Lost by Bridget Kummerer. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce her name. Could someone tell me? This story is all about 2 teenagers in high school, one of which is Juliet Young, who writes letters to her mom, who's a famous photojournalist. And she writes these letters to her mother even after her mother's death and leaves them at her gravestone, and this is a way for her to cope with the loss of her mother being gone. Our other main character is Declan Murphy, and he's in the midst of a court-ordered community service mowing grass at the local cemetery. And he is also trying to escape the demons of his past in the midst of all of that, and you'll understand what that is if you read the book. He then reads a haunting letter left at a gravestone, and he can't help but write back. Soon he's opening up to a complete stranger, and the connection between them is immediate. But neither Declan or Juliet knows that they're not entirely strangers. They actually have a, like, bad relationship in high school together. They do not like each other at all in high school. Like, they're constantly bickering at each other, and I don't want to say making the other person cry, but making each other feel so bad. But when life at school interferes with their secret relationship, sparks will fly as Juliet and Declan discover truths that may tear them apart. Overall, I really loved Juliet and Declan, their relationship was really cool. I thought it was really cool, the aspect of writing letters to each other even though they were strangers, but it was kind of like a little weird to go that deep with someone they'd never met before and go deep with someone that quickly. Like, talk about such intense, heavy subjects about their own lives that deeply. I don't know if I would be able to do that, so it's just hard for me to relate in that way. But overall, I really enjoyed this book, and I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. The 11th book that I read in the month of April was Rescued by a Highlander by Kiara Montclair. And this does have mature content in it, and it was a freebie on Amazon. There is also a trigger warning for abuse and sexual assault. Madeline MacDonald has become the victim to her stepbrother's brutality after their parents' death 2 years ago. Forced into a betrothal to a man that she hates and who raped her, she decides that the only way to live is to flee and join a convent. Laird Alexander Grant is honor-bound to rescue Maddie after seeing the bruises on Maddie's face. But what he doesn't realize is once he holds the lass in his arms, his heart will never ever be the same. He vows revenge for the abuse that she had to go through and yearns to make the sweet woman with an iron will his. But can he help her fight the demons in her mind left behind by her abusers? Overall, it was a historical romance that I really enjoyed. It was a freebie that I wasn't expecting to enjoy as much as I did. I really love Alexander Grant because he tries so hard and so lovingly to help Maddie cope with what she's gone through. I just really appreciate that in a guy. Trying to help someone to that extent is like swoon worthy for me. Yeah, you have unlikable characters, you're obviously supposed to not like them, but like, gosh darn, the author did like such a great job of like making you hate these characters. And overall, I really enjoyed it, and I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. The 12th book that I read in the month of April was What's Left of Me by Amanda Maxlin. This also has mature content in it and was a freebie on Amazon. Andrea McCall was diagnosed with cancer when she was 17. It then reappears when she is 21, and so she decides to move in with her sister, who lives close to the hospital where she is needed to have her treatment. The last thing she is looking for is a relationship. But one night with Parker changes everything. But he doesn't know about her cancer, and she's reluctant to tell him because what if it changes everything? Overall, it was a kind of predictable romance book, I want to say. I haven't really read that many cancer books since like John Green, The Fault in Our Stars, so it was interesting to get back into that kind of medical jargon. I will say, even though like the story was predictable, it was also kind of addictive to me. I really enjoyed the two main characters together, even though the writing style isn't like that mature for me in my opinion and that well developed. I really enjoyed the two main characters together and wanted to know what happened between them. So overall, I gave this book a 3.5 out of 5 stars. The 13th book I read in the month of April was What's Left of Us by Amanda Maxlin, which is the second book to What's Left of Me by Amanda Maxlin. And I ended up giving this book actually a 2 out of 5 stars. So it just fell a little flat for me. I like kind of enjoyed those certain plot points that were going on in the story, but she just like flew through them, you know what I mean? She didn't really talk about the important parts that I wanted to learn more about. She just flew through a bunch of stuff that I wanted more detail about, and I don't know, it just fell kind of flat for me, and it wasn't as good as the first book. The 14th book that I read in the month of April was Forgotten and Remembered, The Duke's Late Wife by Bree Wolfe. After losing his wife in an accident, Graham Axter, Duke of Kensington, decides that love is not worth the risk of having his heart broken all over again. He even keeps his daughter a distance away from him, for he is afraid to hurt her with the darkness that lives inside of his heart. Since he is unable to be the father that she deserves, he vows to find a mother for her who will heal her little heart. At a garden party, Graham spots a young woman with a shy smile tending lovingly to her little cousins, and from that moment he knows what he must do. As the black sheep of her family, Rosabelle Lander has no illusions about love. After her parents' deaths, her aunt and uncle reluctantly take her in, demanding nothing short of complete obedience. Unable to live down her past, Rosabelle just wishes for one thing: freedom. However, before she dares to take a step toward towards her independence, a cold-hearted stranger asks for her hand in marriage. And as the obedient niece, Rosabelle cannot refuse. I ended up giving this one a 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I don't know if others would though, just because it kind of takes a while for like the romance part of the book to kick in. Like if you're wanting a romance book, like just right off the bat, that's not what this book is. Like it takes a while for them to connect, like over halfway through the book. So it was a little slow. I will say that. I love babies and small children in books, so I loved that aspect of the book. I also did not predict the plot twist in this book. Didn't even know there was a plot twist. I didn't expect it at all. So I thought that was like A+ for the author, because like I normally predict those plot twists. I also, since this is more of like a slow burning romance book, I really enjoyed the angst in here, even though it was kind of repetitive as to how the man in this book kept telling Rosabelle why he is the way he is. Just kept repeating the same statement over and over again. I'm like, dude, just explain yourself kind of thing. But overall, I really enjoyed it, and yes, I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. The 15th book that I read in the month of April was Loving the Duke by Eliza McGray. And there is a trigger warning for sexual assault in this book. So this is a story about a man who has to take over the role of a duke after his father's death, even though all he wants to do is spend time being drunk at a bar. And he's kind of like a douchebag slash player. And the other main character is a woman who runs away from her family, who's rich, who wants to put her in an arranged marriage with a man who tried to force himself on her. And then they meet, and apparently she changes him, or whatever. This book was like super short, under 100 pages, and they don't meet until after halfway. And like, it's just stupid because like, right when he meets her, he just suddenly decides, oh, I don't want to be a drunken loser anymore. I want to actually be responsible. But like, he didn't really do anything, or she didn't really do anything. I don't know how that suddenly just like popped into his mind if he was so set in his ways about not being a responsible person. Like all of a sudden, I want to be responsible. Like, there's no influence to why he wanted to change. Like, there wasn't. And this book was just frustrating to me, and I don't think that people should read it, to be honest, and I gave it a 1 out of 5 stars. The 16th book that I read in the month of April is Legacy by Becca Fanning. This also has mature content in it, and it is a bear shapeshifter book. Corinne was the spare prince in the shapeshifter kingdom. All he wants to do is drink whiskey and get away from his family. But then, suddenly, he finds himself the ruler of his people. Our other main character is Chris, who couldn't believe that she had a one-night stand with a tall, dark stranger with golden eyes. She also couldn't believe that she was pregnant with his child. And this is just Corinne and Chris's story trying to deal with everything ranging from their relationship to his kingdom to people trying to kill them. Like, it's just one big mess of emotions. I will say the beginning of this book was good. It was okay, and it had me like excited for what was happening, but the ending was so abrupt and like, I hate when books do that. I also saw the villain coming. Like, it was predictable of who the villain was, and I don't really want to read the next books in the series. Sorry. I gave this book a 2 out of 5 stars. So there you'll have it. That was my very long April wrap-up. I'm sorry if this video was super long. I know I just read a lot of books this month, and yeah, I tried to shorten it as much as I could, so hopefully it's not that long. But yeah, my ratings range a lot throughout the month. Most of the ebooks were around the 2 or 3 star range, and with the occasional 4-star thrown in, whereas the physical books that I read this month got the highest ratings. So do with that what you will, I guess. I mainly read ebooks just for like a distressing mechanism, and I know that they may not be all that well written, but it does relieve stress for me. So overall, I hoped that you enjoyed this wrap up, even though it was very long. Let me know down below if you've read any of these books, or if you're interested in reading them, and also let me know what your favorite book was that you read this month. Anyways, thank y'all so much for watching, and I will see y'all soon with a new video. Bye!